The hall of the alien baron was filled with a heavy silence. Tall crystal pillars rose high into the ceiling, glowing faintly as if alive. Rows of alien nobles stood on either side of the long path that led to the throne. Their eyes shone with strange colors and their voices were hushed, filled with whispers that no human could fully understand. At the center of this hall, one human stood alone. His name did not matter to them. To the aliens, he was simply the outsider who saved the Baron. He did not know why he had been summoned to the palace so soon after the battle. He had fought bravely when the alien Baron's transport was attacked, but he never thought that act would bring him here. Now he stood before the throne, his heart beating slowly but hard, each sound echoing in his ears. The alien Baron sat upon his throne, dressed in robes of black and silver. His tall frame and sharp features gave him a look of cold power. His eyes were like shards of stone, unblinking, heavy with judgment. Beside him, attendants carried a large box. It was unlike anything the human had seen before. The surface was metallic yet soft, as though it was alive. Strange symbols glowed faintly across its sides, changing shape like flowing water. The box hummed with a low sound, steady and unsettling. The nobles leaned closer, whispering again, their voices a strange mixture of fear and curiosity. Some of them looked at the human with pity, others with envy, and some with silent hatred. The human felt their eyes pressing down on him, and he wished he could look away. But his gaze stayed locked on the Baron. The Baron's deep voice finally broke the silence. "You have done what no other dared," the Baron said. His words rolled across the hall like thunder, and though his tone was calm, there was weight in it. "You saved my life. For this you will not go unrewarded. Among my people, gratitude is never empty. It must take form. It must live." At his signal, the attendants carried the strange box closer to the human. The floor trembled slightly as its weight pressed down with each step. When it stopped in front of him, the box gave a low hiss, as though breathing. The symbols glowed brighter, and for a moment the human thought he heard something inside. A soft sound. A movement. His chest tightened. The Baron leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the human. "This is your gift." "A rare gift. No human has ever been given such a thing." "It is not gold. It is not weapon. It is something far greater." The human's throat felt dry. His lips parted, but no words came. He wanted to ask what was inside, but part of him feared the answer. The silence stretched as the box stood between him and the Baron, glowing faintly, humming like a heart. The nobles shifted uncomfortably. Some of them whispered words that seemed sharp, urgent, but the human could not understand. He only saw the unease on their faces. He noticed one alien woman in the crowd, her face pale, her eyes locked on the box. She shook her head slowly, almost in warning. The Baron raised a hand. "Do not fear. The gift is yours by right. No one will take it from you, but you must accept it. You must claim it." The attendant stepped back, leaving the box at the human's feet. Its surface shimmered, as though reacting to his presence. The glow turned faintly blue, and the hum deepened. The human felt his skin prickle, as if invisible fingers brushed against him. He took a small step closer. His boots echoed in the silent hall. The box seemed to respond, its glow shifting, its hum rising. His hand trembled as he reached out, stopping just short of the surface. Inside, something moved again. This time louder, a shift, a breath. The human pulled his hand back, his heart racing. He turned his eyes to the Baron, who only smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the kind of smile that held secrets, the kind that made the human's blood run cold. "Open it," the Baron commanded. The human hesitated. Every part of his body screamed against it. But he could not refuse. Not here, not in front of the Baron and his court. Slowly, he bent down, pressing his hands against the edge of the strange box. It was warm, almost too warm. The hum grew louder, filling the hall. The seal broke with a hiss. Light spilled out, bright and strange like liquid fire. The human squinted, his breath caught in his chest. The glow lit up the faces of the nobles, who leaned forward with wide eyes. Some gasped, some turned away. The woman who had shaken her head now covered her mouth as if to stop a cry. The box opened fully, and the human's eyes widened in shock. Inside, lying still, was a girl. Her skin was pale with a faint glow, as if moonlight lived beneath it. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, spread across the strange bedding inside the box. She wore garments unlike anything he had seen, smooth and delicate, shimmering with every faint movement. Her chest rose and fell slowly. She was alive. The hall fell silent again. The human froze, staring down at her, his mind spinning. Why would the Baron give him this? Why would a living being be placed inside a box and offered as a gift? The Baron's voice rose again, steady and powerful. She is yours, my gift of gratitude. Take her, and know that the life of a Baron is worth more than treasures. Know also that such a gift carries weight. She is not a toy. She is not simple. She is rare. And now, she belongs to you. The human's heart pounded as he looked at the girl, her face calm, her eyes closed, her breath steady. A gift, the Baron said. But it felt like something else, something far more dangerous. And as the glow around the box dimmed, the girl's fingers moved ever so slightly. The hall of the Baron was still and heavy, as if time itself had stopped. Every noble eye was fixed on the box, on the human, and on the figure lying within. The glow from the strange container dimmed slowly, but even without the light, the girl inside seemed unreal. Her silver hair reflected the faint shine from the pillars above, and her stillness was unsettling. She looked fragile, but there was a quiet strength in her form, as though she was more than she appeared to be. The human's hands tightened at his sides. His mind struggled to make sense of what he saw. A gift, the Baron had called her. A gift of gratitude. Yet this was not an object. This was not treasure or weapon. This was life. A living being sealed inside a box. The Baron's deep voice echoed again. Do not hesitate. Look closely. What you hold is rare beyond measure. Few among my kind have ever seen one like her. You are the first human to be given such honor. The human looked down at the girl once more. Her chest rose and fell in steady rhythm. She was breathing, alive. But her eyes remained closed, as if she was lost in deep sleep. The silence broke when a noble from the crowd stepped forward. His robe shimmered with gold threads and his eyes blazed with disapproval. "Baron," he said in a sharp voice, "this is no gift. This is danger. This is forbidden." Murmurs spread through the hall. Some agreed, some gasped, some looked away in fear. The Baron raised his hand, and at once the voices fell quiet. His gaze cut into the noble who had spoken. "You question my gratitude?" the Baron asked. His voice was calm, but it carried a sharp edge. The noble lowered his head, silent now, but the human saw fear flicker across his face. The Baron turned his eyes back to the human. "She will awaken soon. When she does, she will see you first. That is how it must be. Remember this moment, for it will bind your lives together." The human's pulse quickened. He wanted to step back, to put distance between himself and the strange gift. But the weight of the Baron's gaze, the watchful eyes of the court, and the strange pull of the box itself held him in place. Then it happened. The girl's fingers twitched. A small, soft movement, almost too slight to notice. But in the silence of the hall, it was as loud as thunder. The nobles shifted, some gasping, some whispering in unease. The human froze, his breath caught in his throat. Her hand rose slowly from the bedding inside the box. Her skin shimmered faintly, catching the light like polished stone. She turned her head, her hair spilling across her shoulder in liquid waves. And then her eyes opened. They were not human eyes. They were pools of light, glowing faintly with shifting colors. Blue, silver, white, each fading into the other like endless skies. They locked onto the human, and for a moment he felt as though he was falling, being pulled into depths he could not measure. The girl took a slow breath. Her lips parted and a sound came, a soft tone, almost like music, but carrying meaning that brushed against his mind. He did not know her language, yet somehow he understood. "Keeper," she whispered. The word struck him like a blow. His mouth went dry and his heart beat faster. She had not looked at the Baron, nor at the nobles. Only at him. The Baron's voice rumbled once again. "She knows you, as it was foretold. She belongs to you now. The human wanted to deny it, to say it was impossible, but he could not speak. The girl sat up slowly in the box, her movements graceful but heavy with weariness, as though she carried a burden unseen. The strange markings on the box flared briefly before fading away, their glow dying like embers. The nobles began whispering again, louder this time, their unease spreading like fire. Some pointed at the girl, their faces pale with dread. The human caught fragments of their words, though the language was not his own, words like curse, danger, and bound. The girl turned her eyes away from the crowd and back to the human. She reached out her hand, fingers trembling, her voice soft but clear. "Do not leave me." The sound echoed in his mind, sharper than any command, stronger than any plea. He stepped back, his body tense, but his eyes remained locked on hers. He could feel the weight of her words pressing into his thoughts, not with force, but with something deeper, something he could not explain. The Baron rose from his throne, his tall form casting long shadows across the hall. "You saved my life, human," he said, "and so I give you hers. Take her, protect her. She is your reward and your trial." The human's thoughts spun in chaos. Why her? Why like this? What did the Baron mean by trial? But he had no voice to ask, no strength to speak. The girl's hand hovered in the air between them, waiting. The nobles watched, their eyes filled with fear, curiosity, and hunger. The weight of the choice pressed down on him. To accept her hand was to accept whatever fate the Baron had bound to him. To refuse might mean dishonor, or worse, death. The girl whispered again, her voice fragile yet filled with strange power. "Keep her." The human's hand trembled as he raised it slowly, inch by inch, toward hers. The air seemed to thicken, the hum of the box fading into silence. The hall waited, the Baron watched, and the nobles held their breath. Their fingers touched. A sudden wave of light burst from the box, flooding the hall with brilliance. The pillars shook, the nobles cried out, and the human felt his body burn with strange energy. For a moment, everything disappeared in the light, and in that blinding flash, he knew nothing would ever be the same again. The blinding light faded slowly, leaving the hall in silence once more. The nobles blinked, their strange eyes adjusting, their whispers falling into uneasy murmurs. The box that had carried the girl now lay open and empty of glow. Its once living markings now nothing more than dull lines across its surface. The gift had awakened. The human staggered back, his chest rising and falling as if he had run a great distance. His hand still tingled from the sudden burst of energy when their fingers had touched. It felt as though something had entered him, a bond he did not understand, yet could not shake. He looked down at his hand and then back at the girl. She was standing now. Slowly, unsteadily, as if learning how to move again. Her silver hair fell around her shoulders, catching the faint light of the crystal pillars. Her bare feet touched the cold floor. Yet she moved with a strange grace, her balance returning with every step. The hall fell quiet, every noble watching with wide eyes, afraid to blink. The girl's glowing eyes turned once more to the human. She tilted her head slightly, studying him, her gaze sharp yet soft, powerful yet fragile. When she spoke again, her voice was like a song carried on the wind. "You are my keeper," she said. The human's stomach tightened. He wanted to say no, to tell her she was wrong, that he had not chosen this. But the word pressed into his mind with such weight that he could not deny it. Keeper. It was not just a title. It was a bond. The Baron's deep voice rolled across the hall, breaking the heavy silence. As foretold, she awakens to him, to the human who saved me. The nobles stirred again, some hissing in disapproval, others whispering as if afraid the girl might hear. One noble, his face marked with dark lines of age, raised his voice. "This is madness. She should not be free. She was sealed for a reason. You endanger us all." The girl turned her head toward him. Her glowing eyes narrowed, and the noble stopped speaking at once, his face paling. She had not spoken a word to him, had not moved toward him, yet her presence alone silenced him. He lowered his gaze and stepped back into the crowd. The human saw it. The fear she inspired. It was not the fear of her strength, at least not yet. It was the fear of what she was, of what she carried with her very existence. The girl stepped closer to him. She reached up, placing her delicate hand against his chest. Her touch was warm, her fingers trembling slightly as though she herself was unsure of what she was doing. She whispered again, softer this time. "Do not fear. You were chosen." Her words shook him. He wanted to demand answers. Chosen for what? Chosen by whom? But his voice would not come. He only looked into her glowing eyes, trapped in their endless depth. The Baron rose from his throne, his robe trailing across the floor. His presence filled the hall with shadow and weight. He looked down at the human, then at the girl, his expression unreadable. "You now see why this is no ordinary gift," he said. "She is not a servant. She is not a prize. She is a burden and a test. She will follow you now. Whether you succeed or fall will depend on your strength to carry her." The human clenched his fists, anger and fear twisting in his chest. He wanted to shout at the Baron, to ask why he had been given this gift, why he had been forced into this fate. But the noble's eyes pressed on him and the girl's touch anchored him, silencing his voice. The girl's gaze softened. She leaned closer, her lips near his ear. "They fear me. They fear what I am. But I am only lost. Do not leave me, Keeper." Her words were fragile, almost desperate, and in that moment, the human saw not a weapon, not a danger, but a person, someone who had been sealed away, locked inside a box given as a possession. She was alive, and she was afraid. The nobles began to murmur louder now, their voices rising like a wave. Some demanded she be returned to her prison. Others insisted she be destroyed before she could grow in strength. The hall filled with noise, the air thick with tension. The Baron silenced them with a single raised hand. "It is done. The gift has been given. The bond has been made. No one here will break it." His eyes fell on the human. "But know this, your life is no longer your own. Wherever you go, she will follow. Whatever she brings, you must bear. That is the price of saving me." The human's breath came heavy. He wanted to argue, but his words stuck in his throat. The girl's hand pressed lightly against his chest again, and for the first time he felt something else, a calmness beneath the chaos, a warmth that spread from her touch into his heart. The hall stood in uneasy silence once more. The girl lowered her hand, but her eyes never left his. The nobles stepped back, their fear clear in their movements. The human knew then that his life had changed forever. The girl whispered one last word, her voice carrying through the silent hall, reaching every ear. "Keeper." And with that single word, the bond between them tightened, unseen but unbreakable. The great hall of the Baron remained thick with silence, though tension hung in the air like a storm about to break. The girl stood close to the human, her glowing eyes never leaving him, her presence heavy but strangely fragile. The nobles kept their distance now. Some turned their faces away, unwilling to meet her gaze, while others stared with fearful fascination, their whispers like the hiss of snakes. The human felt the weight of 100 eyes pressing down on him. He wanted answers, and though his throat was dry, he forced himself to speak. Why? His voice was low, strained, yet it echoed through the silent hall. "Why her? Why give her to me?" The Baron's gaze was sharp and cold, but behind it, there was something else, something like calculation. He stepped down from his throne, his long robe brushing across the crystal floor as he approached. The nobles shifted uneasily, bowing their heads as he passed. "Because you saved me," the Baron said, his voice calm and heavy, "and because no one else could carry her. No one else would dare." The human shook his head. His hands trembled at his sides. "She is not a gift. She is a person." The girl lowered her eyes, her hand clutching the fabric of his sleeve as though his words struck something deep inside her. For a moment, she seemed almost smaller, weaker, as though she had been waiting a long time for someone to speak those words aloud. The Baron's face remained unreadable. "Do not mistake what you see. She is not like you. She is not like me. She is something else, something that was meant to remain sealed." The nobles stirred again, their whispers louder now. Words carried through the hall, broken but sharp. "She should not walk." "The seal is broken." The danger begins again. The human's chest tightened. He looked at the girl, her glowing eyes lifting to meet his once more.
"What are you?"
he asked, his voice softer now. The girl hesitated. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Her gaze flickered, torn between silence and truth. She lowered her eyes, her voice finally breaking through in a whisper. I was bound. I was hidden. They called me... Curse! The human froze. The word echoed in his mind, heavy with fear. The nobles flinched, as if hearing it for the first time, spoken aloud. The Baron's face hardened, his voice like iron. Enough! Do not speak of it. But she did not stop. Her voice grew stronger, trembling with pain. I was sealed away, trapped in the dark because they feared me. Not for what I had done, but for what I might do. They feared what I carried within me. The human's stomach turned. He stepped back, his thoughts racing. The Baron had given her as a gift, but this was no gift. This was a burden placed upon him without warning, without choice. You knew, the human said, his voice sharp now, directed at the Baron. You knew what she was, and you gave her to me anyway. The Baron's eyes narrowed. I repaid a debt. Nothing more. Whether you see her as a curse or a blessing is not my concern. What you do with her will decide your fate and hers. The nobles murmured louder now, their fear breaking into panic. Some stepped back toward the pillars as though the girl might lash out at any moment. The human noticed one noble, the same woman who had shaken her head earlier, watching with eyes full of sorrow. She whispered a single phrase under her breath, too quiet for the others to hear, but the human caught it. She was not meant to wake. The human turned back to the girl. She looked at him with trembling eyes, her voice breaking into a plea. Do not let them seal me again. Do not leave me in the dark. Her words pierced him, stronger than any command the Baron could give. She was afraid. Afraid not of her own power, but of being imprisoned again, cast away like something dangerous and unwanted. The Baron's voice thundered once more. Silence this talk. The gift has been given. The bond is made. None may break it now. The human clenched his fists, anger rising like fire in his chest. He wanted to shout, to defy the Baron, to demand freedom for both himself and the girl. But he saw the hall, the nobles, the power that surrounded him. One wrong move, and they would strike him down without hesitation. The girl pressed closer to him, her voice soft, her breath trembling. Keeper, do not fear. They cannot touch me while you are near. Our bond protects us both. He did not understand what she meant, but her words brought a strange calm to his pounding heart. He looked at the Baron, his eyes steady now despite the storm inside him. I will not abandon her, the human said. A ripple spread through the hall. Some nobles gasped, others scowled, and a few looked away in disgust. The Baron's eyes narrowed further, but he gave a slow nod. Then you have accepted her, he said. Her fate is bound to yours. From this day on, you will walk a path no other human has walked, and you will learn the truth of why she was sealed, when the time comes. The girl's hand slid into his, her grip warm and shaking. For the first time, he felt her strength not as something to fear, but as something real, fragile, and alive. The hidden truth was clear now. She was no ordinary gift. She was a secret locked away, feared by all. Given to him not out of kindness, but out of necessity. And whatever danger she carried, it was now his to face. The Baron's words echoed in the human's ears. Her fate is bound to yours. The hall was still, but the silence was dangerous. The nobles no longer whispered, they stared. Their eyes burned with fear, anger, and curiosity. The girl's hand remained in his, warm and trembling. Her silver hair framed her glowing eyes, and though her voice was quiet, her presence filled the hall. The human's chest tightened. He had never asked for this gift. He had never wished for such a burden. But the bond was real now. He felt it in his blood, in his thoughts. It was as if invisible threads tied his soul to hers. The Baron stepped closer, his dark robe dragging across the crystal floor. Decide now, he said. Do you accept her fully or do you refuse? But know this, refusal carries its own price. The human's throat tightened. He wanted to ask what that price was, but the Baron's eyes told him the answer was something worse than death. The girl's voice broke through, soft but desperate. "Do not send me back to the dark." Her words pierced him. He saw the fear in her glowing eyes, the way her hands shook even as she tried to steady herself. She was not the monster they claimed. She was alive. She was afraid, but around him the nobles pressed closer. One of them, his face marked with anger, shouted across the hall, "She is a curse! If he accepts her, he dooms us all!" Another noble, older, his voice trembling, said, "Destroy her now while you still can. Before it is too late." Their words clashed in the air, filling the hall with noise. Some demanded her death, others demanded her imprisonment again. The human stood at the center, his heart pounding, their voices pressing against him like walls. The girl turned to him, her hand clutching his tightly. "Keep her," she whispered. "You are the first to look at me as life, not as danger. Do not let them take that away." He swallowed hard. Every instinct in him told him to run, to escape this hall, to leave the weight of this decision behind. But he could not. "Not now." The Baron raised his hand, and silence fell once more. His voice was calm, but his eyes glinted like steel. "You have two choices, human. Accept her and carry what comes with her, or refuse her, and let us end what should never have been awakened. Speak." The human's breath came shallow. He looked at the girl. She stared back, her eyes glowing brighter now, filled with something more than fear. Hope. He thought of the moment he first saw her in the box, lying still as if lifeless. He thought of the first word she spoke. Keep her. It was not a word of danger. It was not a word of curse. It was a plea. He turned back to the Baron, his voice steady now despite the storm inside him. "I accept her." A ripple spread through the hall. Nobles gasped. Some cried out in anger, others shook their heads in disbelief. The air grew heavy, filled with tension so sharp it could be cut. The Baron's eyes narrowed. For a long moment he said nothing. Then, slowly, he gave a single nod. So be it. The girl's hand tightened around his, and he felt a warmth spread through him, deeper than before. Her glow brightened, filling the hall with faint silver light. The nobles stepped back, shielding their eyes. Some shouted again, demanding action, but none dared move closer. The human felt her voice inside his mind now, clear as thought. "Thank you. You have chosen me, and I will never leave you." His heart pounded. This was no longer just a gift. It was a bond deeper than he understood, a bond that would change everything. The Baron turned back toward his throne. "You have accepted her, and now you will carry her fate. Remember this day, human. Remember that gratitude is never simple. What you see as gift may also be burden. What you hold as life may also bring death." The human stood tall, though his hands still trembled. He knew the Baron's words were not threats. They were warnings. The girl remained close, her presence steady, her eyes never leaving him. The nobles began to leave, their voices still sharp, still fearful. Some swore the human had doomed them all. Others whispered that fate had chosen him, not the Baron. The hall emptied slowly until only the Baron, the human, and the girl remained. The silence was deep now, heavy with things unsaid. The human looked at the Baron one last time. "Why me?" he asked. The Baron's gaze lingered on him, unreadable. Finally he spoke. "Because destiny does not ask permission. It chooses." The human felt the girl's hand slip into his again. She leaned closer, her voice soft in his ear. "You chose me, and I will walk with you." The weight of her words settled on him. He did not know what lay ahead, what dangers waited, what truth her existence carried. But one thing was clear. His life was no longer his own. It belonged to something greater. And as he walked out of the alien hall with the girl by his side, every noble eye watched in silence, knowing that the choice had been made and that the true story was only beginning.